What's up, nostalgic fans? Nostalgic Row back here with another finds video. It's been a little slow for me here recently. I haven't had as much time to get out to go search for things that I would like to, and so I've gotten out. I've got a few things here that I found at some local Goodwills, thrift shops like that, and then I have some eBay purchases that I'd like to show you guys. And yeah, the eBay, it's been interesting. I've been trying to figure out different ways to get deals. I don't have the time to sit on it like like a lot of other people do. I'm just a very casual eBayer, so I've been trying some new strategies, and they've been kind of working out. But it's definitely something that takes patience. But before I get ahead of myself, let's first off go ahead and check out what I found at Goodwill's recently. So up first, I have, pull it up here, two different things. First is this Fission controller. It's a fishing controller, actually. It went with the, this is a PlayStation version, the PS1, and it is for the Real Fishing game series. Now, I don't have any of the games themselves, but I saw this, and it was Goodwill, I believe, you know, on a day that where I pretty much picked it up for nothing. So yeah, I picked it up. It seems to work. I tried it on one of my hockey games. It seems to be working, though definitely not a controller really to use outside of the fishing, because if you look at the button layout there, it's just really difficult to do anything with it, especially for a hockey game anyways. So, but yeah, it was like $1 or $2, and I thought, why not? I don't really see these, and they're actually worth normally about $15 to $20. So not a bad find there for $2. The other thing, and I see these quite a bit, but I'm usually not lucky enough to come back and get them again, but I got a Wii Fit Board. Now, the Wii Fit Boards, I've been seeing them at a lot of thrift shops. People are putting, you know, anywhere from $30 to $40 on them. And really, most eBay reselling stuff like that I see, they go for about $20. Now, the reason why I picked up this one is because I had one already, but when I look at these, when I see them in the thrift stores, if you open them up, what you got to check is in the battery here. Pop that open, and you probably won't be able to really see it because I cleaned it up. But what a lot of people do, and why these are ending up in thrift stores, is that the batteries explode. They go bad. People leave the batteries in for too long. They don't think about it. They don't touch it. And then the batteries go bad, and then you see a bunch of corrosion and stuff like that, and that happens on the batteries. So the thrift shops get these. They put $30, $40 on them. They don't move. This one I picked up at a Goodwill. It had a sticker sale on it, so I got it for $2. And all I did is I simply just cleaned that out with a little Goo Gone, a little Windex, cleaned it up as the best I could with some Q-tips there too, and boom, works. And now I probably can go ahead and flip this for $20 myself. But yeah, so something that's really easy to do if you're looking for some quick cash and you know you can get rid of it right away. Look for these and get them when they're really cheap. Clean out the batteries, and they're good to go. And it's one of those things that, you know, the Wii U still uses them. They're still in use. But it's definitely something that I'm seeing more and more, and they're just real quick and easy to pick up and clean. So with those two things out of the way, I picked up a couple games as well, in kind of a package deal here at one Goodwill stop. Jeopardy for the Genesis. Very basic, very straightforward version of Jeopardy. Very, very boring. I tested it out one night and I fell asleep playing it. But yeah, I mean, it does what it's supposed to. You can play Jeopardy. The only problem I had with it is that you have to spell everything to a T, perfect spelling, everything. And there's a couple answers that I had it, I just didn't spell it correctly, and so I was mad about that. But otherwise, it wasn't too difficult, and had I focused a little bit more and not fallen asleep, I probably could have easily won.
You are correct.
Anyway, Jeopardy there, and then a DS game that really I probably shouldn't even have bothered picking up, but I figured, what the heck, I'll throw it in there. And that is the Fashion Studio Paris Collection. Basically, design clothes. That's all what it is. Yeah, I don't really have to say anything more else about that. But yeah, so I'll pick that up. Like I said, this is all kind of a package deal. Another game that I haven't really seen before for the NES. Not that it's rare or anything like that necessarily, but I just not one I ever came across. And that is Sesame Street, ABC, Let Her Go Around, and Ernie's Big Splash. These barely qualify as games. Yeah, the Let Her Go round had a little bit more difficulty, but that was just because I wasn't quite sure what I was doing at first. And then Ernie's Big Splash is basically you put together a maze for the water to hit his tub, but if you don't set it up correctly, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I was really confused, and this game just kind of looped on the Ernie's Big Splash there. So, yeah, like I said, barely qualifies as a game, but either way, added to my NES collection. And then for the Game Gear is Solitaire Poker. So yeah, another game that I barely see out there, but I picked it up just because I was like, well, whatever. I couldn't even find a price on it as far as going to price charting or anything like that. It seems to be, if it's not necessarily a rare game, it's just one that nobody willingly buys outright from somewhere. So yeah, so again, another game that it's kind of eh. And then finally, and maybe this Goodwill store, they just had somebody that had young kids way back in the day, and I got there a little late on picking up games, but I picked up Barbie Supermodel, complete in box for the Sega Genesis. This game, basically, you're a supermodel, and you gotta drive to practice. You gotta practice your moves for the runway, and then you go to the runway and you do the moves. Pretty straightforward gameplay too. So yeah, as far as thrift shop Goodwill finds, a lot of basic things there that not anything that's like, whoa, cool, but at the same time I'm adding to the collection, so that's always nice. And then I happen to be walking around in Target, and Target, at least for the area that I am, is great for finding clearance stuff. I'm not always going to find AAA games or anything like that, but sometimes if you just hit it just right, especially the one by my house, they seem to be really good, you can find a cheap deal on a game. So this is a game that, based on the fact of it was in the clearance aisle, I'm assuming it didn't do that well, but it's a Nintendo DS game, Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands, part of the Prince of Persia series, the trilogy from the Xbox, PS2 games. So yeah, it's I'm gonna keep it. It's unopened, sealed, so I'm gonna keep it that way. Reality is, again, a game that's probably not worth a whole lot. Maybe it'll go up in price if I don't open it. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it. But for $250, I figured why not. So game there. And then one other thing that I wanted to show you guys before I showed what I picked off eBay is I picked up for my dad, actually. He had been asking. He had recently picked up a lot of Super Nintendo games, and he has a Nintendo set up, and he was just like, well, I want something that I can sit on the couch and play, and I want to play the Super Nintendo games. So I told him about a Superboy, and those go for about 80 bucks brand new, and he was interested in it, but he didn't really want to spend the money on it. So I happened to be on Facebook and in some of the retro forums, and came across somebody that said that they were selling a retro Duel portable. Basically the same thing as a Superboy, can play Super Nintendo games, but it also came with an adapter so you can play NES games, and then you can buy an adapter to play Sega games. And they have a version 2.0 out right now that's actually supposed to be pretty solid in terms of playing virtually any game, because that's the biggest problem when you get these clones, is they don't play all the games. So this was a version 1, but I ended up buying it for about 55 bucks, I think is what it was. So it's a retro Duel portable, and this is really cool. You can play Super Nintendo games on it, and Nintendo games, and then it also, you can plug it into the TV, which is actually way better. So with the retro Duel portable on its own, if you're just sitting here, you know, gaming like this, audio-wise, pretty terrible. The screen itself, pretty decent. And the control that feels for it, it feels pretty good in terms of playing video games on it. You do have to be careful because the screen on it, they are known to kind of get a little dead pixel here or there. Unfortunately, this one, after I bought it, I found the dead pixel. But at that point, I wasn't going to return it. It's just one spot. You'd barely even notice. That's why when I tested it, I didn't notice it at first, but did find it later. So anyway, but this is cool. And then when you hook it up to your TV through the AV cables, it is really solid, I think. And then you can also, there's an adapter that you can use Super Nintendo controllers, and it feels good, it plays good. Probably one of the better clones that I saw out there that you plugged and played like that. So for the money, I think if you are getting into gaming, you don't want to have an old system, you don't want to dink around with it, this would be a solid option. I'm honestly thinking about getting a version 2.0 so I can have it for on the road or something, because I really like how this feels. As a whole, it's a pretty solid system. Like I said, audio-wise, you'd want to have headphones if you're really crazy about that, but at the same time, to me, it's like, when I'm playing a portable game, I expect a little bit of tinniness from it or whatever, and it definitely has that. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I might pick up for myself. And I got it complete in box with the controllers, everything. So for $55, it normally goes for 80, I think is what version 2.0 is going for right now. So I think a pretty solid deal. Not one that blows it out of the water or anything, but pretty solid for what it is. So yeah, Retro Duo Portable. I would probably recommend to people if you're interested in having a clone, like I said. So anyway, now going on to my eBay purchases. Like I said, I don't eBay a whole lot, just because to backtrack a little bit, when I started looking at eBay here more recently, I got a little disappointed with how things have been going on eBay. Now, the last time I did eBay was 2-3 years ago, and prices I thought were pretty reasonable then. NES games, you could buy a lot of games and you pay about $3 a game for them. If you got it with the system, then it would factor out to be cheaper, obviously. But now it's gone up. Games for an NES lot that was $3 then, it's now at least $5 a game, if not more. And it was one of those things where I bought several lots of about 30 games, and then this was 2-3 years ago, and I paid like $150 a lot, something like that. Now, if I tried getting that lot, it would cost well over $200, if not close to $300. And that's a huge jump for a gamer, especially someone that was just trying to get started. I'm kind of glad that like 2-3 years ago, I did invest a lot in eBay early on to kind of build up my collection. Because now I don't think I could afford it. If I was now starting to get into gaming, it would be really hard, retro gaming anyway. It would be really hard. And it's one of those things that I get it, you know, the inflation, YouTubers like myself are partially to blame because we're, you know, talking about these games and everything. It's just one of those things though that it makes me wonder how much higher games are going to go before they drop down and people realize that like it's not worth it to pay this much for these games. I don't know, because there's a lot of systems out there like the Segas, the Ataris and stuff like that that you can get them for still relatively cheap. It's just mainly Nintendo brand products that are still really expensive. And if you're trying to go after specific games on eBay, you might as well go to your brick and mortar store and pick them up, which I'm more of a fan of doing that anyway, because the resellers out there, they're asking top price for them, which is fine. That's how they want to do it, and people are willing to pay that. I'm okay with that. But then when you go to a lot and you see a specific game, I'm trying to think, for example, for Super Nintendo, I was coming across lots that had, you know, like a couple Donkey Kong games, maybe a Metroid game or something like that, and then 10 to 15 throwaway games, really games that aren't even worth more than $5, you know, even in today's prices. And you would think that, okay, I'd be able to get a decent deal on this, but really what I've found now on eBay, and this is what kind of is like, well, that's too bad, because now it takes the fun out of trying to get a deal, is you basically have to find the highest games. So if that's 3 games that are worth a lot, 5 games, whatever it is, and that's what you're going to pay, maybe $10 to $15 more just because of that. But basically, you're not getting the same deals as what it used to be. Before, if there was like a really good game or 2-3 good games in there, you still could get it within that $3 to $5 price range. It might go up a little bit more, or I shouldn't say $5, but the $3 price range. But now it's, no matter what, you are going to pay top dollar essentially for those 5 games, and then all the other games tack on another $1 or $2 for those. And that's what's a little disappointing to me, I guess, is that with eBay, it's harder to find good deals, and everyone knows all the different tricks and misspellings and stuff like that to find other ways. But I came across something that I think will help me be able to get better deals in the future. And I'm not going to share that really, just because honestly, it's not really tried or true yet in terms of what you can find. But because I looked at some other stuff and it didn't work out as well. So it really, there is a lot of variables going on with eBay. And unfortunately, or eBay used to be a place where, yeah, you could get good deals on games. It's not so much anymore. So definitely, if you are looking to build your system, I guess my advice would be, or if you're looking to build your collection, my advice would be is to still hit up the Craigslist. That's probably your best bet. Craigslist, find forums on Facebook and stuff like that, and interact with people, talk to them. Those collectors are more willing to give you a better deal, and you're probably going to be able to find more games that you want. If you're going on eBay, expect to be paying basically retail price on these games. And again, as far as inflation and everything like that, I guess that's just the way it goes. I guess to me, it was just disappointing because I couldn't like add a bunch to my collection anymore. Like I don't feel that eBay is a viable option anymore, unless if I just really find an obscured one and at the right time I buy it. So anyway, enough of the eBay rant. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on that, and like I said, it's just it is what it is now. So that's what you have to deal with. So anyway, with the purchases I got off eBay, I really was trying to focus on Game Boy games. I guess if there's one thing that I found that I still could get at a relatively cheap price was Game Boy games. It didn't really matter if, you know, outside of DS and 3DS, most of the other Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, most of those you could get a decent deal on. So anyway, so I decided to focus on that because I don't have a ton, and I'm getting more of an interest of playing those games. So that's why I decided to kind of focus on. But first, I picked up a couple of Super Nintendo games. They came with a lot. So the first one is Miss Pac-Man. Nothing special about it. It's Miss Pac-Man for the Super Nintendo. So, but the game that I really wanted is Turtles Tournament Fighters. I had this game as a kid. I loved it as a kid. I didn't have the Street Fighter or anything like that. This is basically what that is. It's a Street Fighter clone. A lot of people would say it's kind of a poor version of a fighting game. I actually think it's really cool. You have the different speeds that you can crank the guys up to. You have all the turtles and all these different characters that have all various move sets. I think it's a fun game. I really like it, and back in the day, I pretty much beat this whole game with every character except one, Leonardo. Leonardo's definitely the hardest one to control, but he has the best super move that you can do, or superpower, whatever they call it. Once you build up your energy in the game, you can unleash a super move, and he has the best one, but he's definitely super hard to master, at least for me. I'm not a big fighter guy, so maybe that's why I really like this game. Between this one and Killer Instinct, those were my two favorite fighter games. So I was really happy to get this back because I did originally have this. I had it in the box. I got it for like my birthday or Christmas or something like that way back in the day. And then the tragic year that I sold my entire collection, I sold that too, and I kicked myself every day for doing that because it was something I knew I'd get into collecting again eventually, and I wish I kept the boxed set because I did keep some box games, but that was one I did not. But glad I finally have Turtles Tournament Fighters for the Super Nintendo. It's going to get a lot of great playtime again. So some other games that I picked up. Let's see here. So I got a 3DS game, which I actually don't have a 3DS, so I'll probably be looking to get rid of this. And that is Finding Nemo Escape to the Big Blue. At least got it in a little case there. We got that. And then for the DS, which I'm starting to build more of a DS collection, so that's cool. But there's Leia Lopsy. I think that's how you say it. Leia Loopsy, maybe? Either way, it looks like simple kids game. So magical, so cute is the tagline there. So yeah, it's a basic kids game. It was a throw-in too. And then let's see here, a couple of Game Boy Color games that I managed to pick up as well for pretty cheap. We'll start with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Let's see here. This is The Road to El Dorado, I believe the Disney film. This game, it looked like it was pretty poor. And Tony Hawk, you know, it's Tony Hawk. So, and another game that I had when I was younger, I had the box and everything, and actually traded it in, and then kind of kicked myself for doing it. But it doesn't look like the value went up a whole lot. But that is Donkey Kong Country when it got ported over to the Game Boy Color. So a decent title there for what it is, but also, you know, if you're looking for a more true experience of Donkey Kong Country, that's probably the worst place to find it, is on the Game Boy Color. And then finally, and I was kind of holding out on this one, this was one that Angry Video Game Nerd had talked about recently during his 12 Days of Shitmas, I think is what he called it. And he ridiculed this game. And what was funny is when I got this game, I was like, oh, hey, that's the one that he made fun of. Well, let's see. He was talking about how it was in black and white. Popped it into my Game Boy Advance player on the GameCube. It was all in color. So that's where with Angry Video Game Nerd and guys like that want to just bash games, they're not always truthful about what's wrong with the game. So he was saying, oh, it's in black and white, so you can't see anything. No, it's in color. The one Olsen twins in green, the other's in blue, I believe. So it's a game that I think it's pretty bare bones. Nothing too difficult. Probably could have a little bit of fun in it. But that's where with reviewers like him, which I love it, Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm not trying to, you know, make fun of him and say he's poor or anything like that, but it was just one of those situations where you kind of catch them in what they're making fun of, you know, and stretching the truth a little bit. So anyway, Mary Kay and Ashley Get a Clue. Not as bad. You know, it is playable. Not in black and white, unlike what other reviewers may have led you to believe. And then finally here, picked up some Game Boy Advance games. So nothing here that was too spectacular in terms of games, just one or two titles that I was really after. And so as a whole, with the Game Boy games and stuff like that, I think it was about $1.50 a game. And so that's what I'm talking about there, is that like these, if I bought in store, it would have been well over $100, but I found a deal on them like that. So that's why I'm kind of focusing on that if I go on eBay anymore. I'm probably not going to shop eBay a whole lot still. But if I am, I'll definitely be focusing more on the portable games. So anyway, let's see here. There's Dragon Ball Z Taketsu. Not for sure if that's how you say it. I don't really know a whole lot about Dragon Ball Z other than that it exists. So we have the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings. Looks like it's pretty straightforward. Also looks like it's probably pretty boring. So, yeah, so we'll see how that one goes if I ever get to it. A title that I've actually already reviewed the game, so this is a bonus one for me that I'll be looking to flip, but that is Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising. I love this game. If you haven't seen the game or seen my review for it, go to it. It's a fun game. It's a strategy game, army strategy game. Highly recommend it. I haven't played the first one, and I know there's some sequels or whatever that I'm looking forward to playing as well. But this is the type of strategy games that, if it's done right, I love it. And these games I felt were done right. It's not overly hard, but it will challenge you. So yeah, Advance Wars 2, highly recommend. Check out my review for it. Let's see here, Sonic Advance 2. Basically, Sonic games ported over to Advance. They're their own games. So yeah, but if you wanted Sonic on the go and you don't have a working Game Gear, here you go. You can get it on the Game Boy Advance. It seems like a pretty decent game. I'll probably give it a little bit of a play later on. Up next here we have Harry Potter. This one looks like could be kind of fun. It looks like you get to run around. You have to learn how to do the different tricks or whatever. So it looks like it could be a solid title. We'll see what happens with that when I get around to reviewing it. Texas Hold'em Poker. Pretty straightforward. Poker. So what it is. Don't need to explain a whole lot more with that. And then finally, here's a title that it's worth a little bit, but not a ton. Pretty popular series though on the Game Boy Advance, and that is Golden Sun, the first one. I played this a little bit when it first came out, but it was one of those type of games where I don't really get into it as much in terms of it's a turn-based, a lot of reminiscent of Pokemon, really, to put it that way, if you're not familiar with Golden Sun. I'm not saying that's a bad game or anything like that. I don't get into those type of role-playing games back and forth. Like I've explained before, I want to be fighting. I want to be doing that. I don't want to sit there and tell you to fight and then wait for all these different moves to happen and stuff like that. So anyway, that's my haul here that I got recently. So had a little bit of luck on eBay. Like I said, nothing that's too crazy here in recent months, but you know, that's how things go sometimes, is that you have a little bit of influx of great games and then it slows down a little bit, but you know, still getting out there, still finding deals from time to time. And yeah, so that's it. So as usual, guys, I would love to hear what you guys are finding out there, showing me different deals that you have, and if any tips or tricks that you may have with eBay to maybe getting a better deal on those games. I guess, like I talked about, is that to me personally, eBay is looking less and less like an option now, now that I am getting to be more of a serious gamer. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious if you guys have any thoughts on that, and if you go to any certain places on eBay as well. So once again, thank you for watching. Please check out nostalgicrow.com and subscribe below, and I'll talk to you next time.